Steel City. Is everybody ready to go? Let's proclaim the greatest radio show.
Welcome, fan, to the Spreads Week 6 Steelers preview. I'm your host, Jim Sella, here with Johnny Parlay. J-Dash still on vacation. Parlay, we're going to recap that terrible game at Jacksonville. Well, at Pittsburgh, but versus Jacksonville last week. It was extremely pathetic. I think every facet of the game was garbage. I think Boswell might have been the MVP just because he didn't miss an extra point.
Man, it's just like a bad hangover. It just lingers. I'm still feeling it. You know, you get one of those bad hangovers, you feel it for days. You're not normal till the middle of the week.
So bad. There's all these people who are saying Roethlisberger's garbage. He's quit on the team. He talked about retirement. One time Chuck Noll said if you think about retirement, you're already retired. So you got all these old head yinzers saying that Ben's pathetic and he should be released or benched and we should play Landry Jones or sign Colin Kaepernick. These people need to wake up and really see that it's not any one person's fault on this football team. Offensively, they are just offensive right now. It is bad.
No identity. Like I said last week, they got no identity.
Nope. The one thing they're consistently doing is they're consistently bad in the red zone. Last week, 3 trips into the red zone, 3 field goals. Face it, if they score touchdowns on even just one, but 2 or 3 of those, all 3 of those red zone trips, that's a totally different ball game. If you score 3 touchdowns, you're up big on Jacksonville. They have to abandon the run. They go to Blake Bortles, who throws mad interceptions. Maybe the Steelers don't get 5, but I guarantee you if the Steelers score touchdowns there, they win that game. And now I know that's an if, and they didn't do it, so yeah, I could sit here and say if all day in hindsight. But the Steelers are supposed to be a good enough team that they score at least 2 out of 3 of those trips in the red zone. The one time they're in the red zone, they're first and goal from the 5-yard line. They go and throw 3 passes. Why do you not just hand the ball to Le'Veon Bell?
That was just hogwash. I don't get it. I don't see how Haley's not on the hot seat. It seems like he gets on it twice a year, but for some reason he gets off of it. I don't know why they don't pull the trigger, but any yinzer off the street can tell you that first and goal from the 5, you don't run it at all?
Yeah, not even once.
Just absurdity. I just don't understand why that guy is not on the hot seat, like I said.
Even if they would have given it to Connor, I would have been happy with that because Connor is definitely more of a straight line runner than Le'Veon. But you got to give it to somebody. They've been using Watson in the backfield a little bit on those short yardage plays. Anybody. You don't throw it 3 times first and goal from the 5-yard line. There's 15 teams that are better than the Steelers right now in the red zone offensively. They only ran the ball 15 times against the league's worst run defense. I mean, come on. This is elementary football.
You got to get back to the basics, you know. I mean, I know last week Parlay said his key to the game was to make your field goals, but I didn't mean make only field goals.
Yeah. It's just terrible the way they're playing right now. Yeah, Ben played bad. Yeah, he threw 2 pick sixes.
It would have worse than bad. That might have been his worst game of his career.
It's pretty close. I mean, obviously, 5 interceptions, that tied a career high. It sucks that he even had 5 in a game before that. But I'm not going to put all the blame on him, especially since later in the game, he's pretty much slinging it just to try to win. So those interceptions are going to come. He's trying to force the ball in somewhere, obviously. You had the tip passes. The O-line's playing like crap right now. They're not like the worst O-line in football, but they were supposed to be one of the best, not mediocre. Roethlisberger's getting older. His legs are going to be the thing that are going to go first because he's taken so many hits in his career. If he can't step up and have a comfortable pocket, he's not going to be as good. The last 2 years, the reason he's been so good is they kept him upright and they've kept the pressure out of his face. They're not doing that as well this year. It's going to be a lot harder for him. He can't play backyard football like he used to. His legs just can't do it like they did when he was 23.
Or maybe he just doesn't have it anymore.
You know, I'm not going to sit here and say he doesn't have it. He's declining, don't get me wrong. He's on the back end of a great career, but he's no worse than some of these other guys out there. Roethlisberger still has a more accurate arm. You just don't throw the ball 55 times. against a team that's number one in pass defense.
No, they just have to remold him. They could be a great team if they would remodel him completely. Like, the guy is still a quality. He's still a top quarterback, but he's not a sling it around 50 times a game quarterback anymore. I mean, imagine if he only had to throw, 1 out of the 3 downs. How much better he would be just on principle alone.
Look at how Denver won their Super Bowls at the end of the John Elway era. He wasn't a game manager because there were games where he stepped up and won the football game for him, but he wasn't carrying the team. It was Terrell Davis. Steelers have the running game to do that. They need to get back to that. That's why they went on a winning streak last year. That's why they made it to the AFC Championship game last year. And I don't know what's up with these cutesy screen passes, and you're just play football. You're supposed to be the best line in football. You're supposed to have the best running back in football. Ram it down the other team's throat, and then throw the ball when it's open. It's really that simple.
It's time to get back to the basics. I honestly think that they're just so hung up on. I think all year they're preparing for New England when they're not playing New England every week. They're stuck on this thing where they need to get that offense moving and just, like they have this beat New England mentality. And I think they went into the season thinking, that's what we got to do. That's one team we need to get through. And they're not focusing on these other teams and game planning for these other teams. And that goes to coaching, in my opinion.
Yeah, Jesse James, the Steelers tight end, said, I'm just kind of paraphrasing here, but he basically said they didn't come out with the right game plan. And I've seen a lot of people instantly start criticizing him, calling him a racist, saying he won't listen to a black coach. Well, Todd Haley's white. So I really don't know what they're talking about there. Todd Haley's the one that comes up with the game plan offensively. Of course, Tomlin has some say in it, but I thought those were some ridiculous comments as far as social media goes. But Jesse James was right. It was the wrong game plan. You need to run the ball when you're going against the league's worst run defense. Barry Church, the Jaguars safety, said the Steelers played right into what they wanted. They threw the ball. They threw it 55 times, and they threw it into cover 3 zone coverage that they weren't even running the right routes. I mean, they're running all these crossing routes against zone coverage. All these guys, they're so fast, they're able to sit back, read Ben, and then get to the ball. That's not what you do against that type of defense.
Barry Church, he was preaching.
Please believe. Well, let's get away from this Jaguars game. We all suffered enough from it. The Jaguars pummeled us. What can you do now? The Steelers are 3-2. They're going into Week 6 against the Kansas City Chiefs in Arrowhead. Arrowhead, one of the hardest places to play, even when the Chiefs are terrible. Chiefs are the best team in football right now, sitting there at 5-0. Alex Smith is playing like a baller right now. Is there any chance that Steelers defense can bring him back down to earth?
I would never bank on that, but hold him in check, possible. They got a pretty dynamic offense, and I don't really think that the Steelers' defense matches up with that for sure because they got a great running back, so there's red flag number 1. And if they can open up that run game, then the passing is going to be so much easier, and they got some serious game planning to do this week, especially going into Arrowhead.
Harley, I want to point something out that I literally just noticed as you were talking. We like to talk some stats here on the spread, and stats are sometimes a good indicator of how a team or a player, played in a certain game or over the course of time. Last week, the Jaguars came into the game with the number 1 pass defense in the league. This week, they dropped. Guess who is now the number 1 pass defense in the league?
Let's go with them Chiefs.
The Steelers.
Oh, good Lord. Come on, that's a trick question.
I'm telling you, the Steelers are now ranked the number 1 defense against the pass. They're only giving up 139 yards passing in a game. But that's because Bortles threw for under 100 yards, and Glennon, he threw for over 100, but he got sacked a few times, so their total yardage was actually under 100. So that's 2 games where the Steelers held the opposing team's offense under 100 yards passing, but they lost both football games. That's just absurd to me, and that's why I don't bank everything on stats. And that's kind of my point when it comes to the Steelers D. Yeah, they look good on paper right now, but we haven't really played an elite quarterback. Alex Smith is going to be by far the best quarterback they're going to go against so far this year. And I really don't know if the Steelers defense is ready. I'm not going to come out and say they're not. They've played well, but this is going to be a real test.
Yeah, top passing defense with who they've played, that's like a participation trophy. That's like the big brother beating up on the little brother. It's really not that impressive.
Yeah,
Especially
so many.
if you let your little brother's friend, i.e. the running game, do all the work, then yeah, you don't need to have a great passing offense.
All these people like to spout all these pro football focused stats, and it just irritates me.
Stats. Win-loss is all it's all about. But they're still 2-0 in the division, correct?
Believe it.
That's all that really matters, and all you got to do is get to the dance.
What is the Steelers defense going to do to learn how to stop the run? I mean, is it something you think is easy as scheme? Because people are criticizing Keith Butler, which I don't really know. I like the job that Butler has done, especially considering in his third year the team, or as far as defense, has gotten a little better each year. I honestly think it's a matter of players setting the edge. Watt is still a really young guy. He's a really good player. I was happy they drafted him. I predicted the Steelers to draft him in our mock draft segments. But it's a skill you learn setting the edge, especially the way that James Harrison did. Anthony Chickalo is terrible at it. So when Chickalo comes into the game, he's great against the pass, terrible against the run. Bud Dupree, he's another young guy. He's learning how. These Steelers linebackers are a lot smaller than they used to be when we would run those vaunted 3-4 defenses. Now you have some bigger D linemen that I almost wonder if this style of football just isn't right for this Steelers defense. They need to do something different, especially with Artie Burns on his side. This dude can't tackle a running back to save his life this year. It's terrible.
Yeah, if you can't stop the run, you can't stop the run. That's not something you fix overnight. So, I don't know what to do if I was them. I mean, if I was their coaches, I'd be having some late nights at the office, that's for sure. Because, like I said, it's not going to happen overnight that you can all of a sudden stop the run. It's got to be a major overhaul in, I guess, the philosophy and the game plan to an extent, or maybe focus on that more and take your chances a little with one-on-one coverage for the corners. I don't know. I'm not the coach. I'm just parlay.
You got Kareem Hunt for the Kansas City Chiefs. This guy's turned out to be an elite running back. He's played well in brother. This dude's all over the field. He's going to prove to be a really bad matchup, I want to say, for the Steelers. He's a guy who's more of a straight line runner, but he also can put his foot in the ground and make that one cut and go. He's not going to be somebody who makes 3 jukes and a spin move to fake you out, but he's definitely going to be able to plant his foot and change directions quickly. Steelers really struggled with that with Cohen in Chicago. Kansas City's throwing the ball well. Kansas City's running the ball well. If you're Keith Butler, what are you focusing on first to stop, the run or the pass?
Well, the way the run defense has been so far, you got to think that's the focus. The corners have been decent, I think. Hayden's really pulling his weight. He was a great pickup, I think. So you just got to keep focusing on the run. Keep doing it till you get it. And if you don't get it, you're screwed.
Yeah, it's surprising to me. Everybody was so excited the Steelers defense finally had all their starters in for that game against the Jaguars, and then they just came out and got smoked. And then again, another way that stats are kind of misleading, the Steelers held Fournette under 100 yards until that big 90-yard run. And again, you don't wipe away the 90-yard run. But anybody who knows football and who was still actually watching at that point, the Steelers were in a run blitz. All the safeties were up at the line of scrimmage. Fournette got through it. He's gone. I mean, it doesn't matter what defense you are. If you run that play and they get through the initial line, they're gone. So the run defense wasn't as terrible as it looked at the end of the game, but it still wasn't good. They allowed the Jaguars to run the ball like something like 18 straight times and just continue to get first down after first down, converting long third downs. It was terrible. They can't do that this week against Kansas City. Kansas City is the best team in football right now. They'll definitely come out and gladly run the ball all over the Steelers if they let them.
And a big mismatch, I think, is on the sidelines with the coaches, too. Andy Reid, he's a good coach, and he's going to know what's coming. These teams just saw each other last season. It was the Chiefs' last game of the year, and that was a tight game. And I'm sure Andy Reid didn't forget about that, and I'm sure he's adjusting based on that game, and he should be adjusting on what the Steelers have showed this year. And he's got some great tools to exploit that defense right now. A back who can catch and run also, a solid quarterback who doesn't make a lot of mistakes. It just has disaster written all over for their D. So I don't know. They need a serious game plan for the ages.
Honestly, if somehow they can figure out how to stop the run, which you would think they should be able to with all those high draft picks on the D-line and linebackers, beating Alex Smith isn't that hard. I'm not saying he can't come out and win a game for you, but if the Chiefs can't get that running game going, the Steelers should be able to feast on some Alex Smith passes. He is averaging more yards per completion this year than any year before in his career, but still, he's that check down king. And if you could start making him nervous, he's going to start going back to what he knows best, and he's going to start looking for those check downs. So if the Steelers defense wants to have any chance, I agree, Parlay. They just got a game plan for that run game, and they got to come all out and stop it.
They got their work cut out for them. I mean, if the run's not working for them, they can go to the pass, and they can go to their tight end, Kelsey, if he's going to be available. And that's just, they have so many options that, that the Steelers' D is going to have to be so alert and ready for so many different Kansas City game plans, and that's going to be the real test, I think. So just having all your bases covered, mind your P's and Q's, and be ready, Mr. Butler.
Before we move on to the Steelers' offense, who scares you the most from that Kansas City offense? Is it Tyreek Hill, Kareem Hunt, or Travis Kelce?
Well, being their opponent, I would say the Steelers got to be most afraid of Kareem Hunt.
Yeah, I mean, as of right now, you would think that's who they're afraid of. I just really hope and pray that Kelce doesn't come out and have a big game, because big tight ends really kill the Steelers. They kill a lot of teams, but they especially kill the Steelers.
Yep, if it ain't one thing, it's the other for the Steelers this weekend.
What's this offense going to do to get going against the Chiefs? The Chiefs come in with a pretty good defense. Big Ben coming off one of the worst games in his career. Do they need to feature Big Ben, or should they go back to that running style that really led the way last year late when they were on that winning streak? Kansas City's only 21st against the run. They're giving up 118 yards per game. The Steelers should, I'm not saying should as in they will, I'm saying should as in they have the offensive talent. They should be able to come out and get that pretty easily.
I think Haley's just way too stubborn to admit something's not working. I don't see him totally abandoning his game plan, and he's certainly not going to listen to all the sports talk radio shows who are saying, hey, you're doing everything backwards. You need to run the ball, I'm sure he's heard so many times in the last 48 hours, 15 rush attempts against the worst rush defense in the league. That's all he's heard. So, I mean, logic would lead you to think he's going to pound the rush next week. But I don't think he will, because I think he's a stubborn dude, and I think that the only person he answers to is himself. So I sort of think he's going to keep the same mindset. I wouldn't be surprised if Ben throws 40 times this week.
We are all on record here at the Spread as in hating Todd Haley. I think we all agree that I'm not going to come out and say his offense is garbage, but it's not as great as some people make it out to be. The Steelers should easily be scoring 30 points a game. I mean, come on.
There are worse coordinators, but he just doesn't fit with the team that he's been presented.
The Chiefs are averaging 32.8 points per game. The Steelers are averaging 19.8. It should be the other way around. That shows you how good of an offensive mind Andy Reid is. Is Martavis Bryant ever going to get it going, or is this guy going to just continue to drop everything thrown his way? And I realize somebody's probably going to come on and comment here, and he only has this many drops in the year. What? Okay, fine. He also is running lazy routes. He's not crisp coming out of his breaks, and he really just looks like he's non-interested out there.
I don't know. I smell Limas Swede.
Yeah. I'm pretty glad the Steelers never gave him a contract extension. If he would have came out in the year that he got suspended and had a huge year, he might have got a contract extension and then got suspended, and that really would have sucked. I'm still hoping this guy can turn it around, though. I'm not hating on Bryant. I don't really care what he does in his personal life. but the guy's really got to become that big play receiver that the Steelers need. He was averaging somewhere around 21 yards a catch, 20 yards a catch before he got suspended. He needs to get back to that. I know Ben's overthrown him a little bit, but he still just doesn't look comfortable out there after that extended time off. He should be getting more comfortable now. We're coming into week 6. He had part of training camp, whatever he was allowed to do. I know he was limited still by the suspension, but he really needs to come out and help the Steelers offense. People keep pointing to Antonio Brown getting all these yards. He's getting all these yards because nobody else is doing anything. Somebody else needs to step up for the Steelers offense.
I don't know. Flash in the pan, I think. I don't think he's going to amount to much. I think he's apexed. I think he's plateaued, to tell you the truth. I just don't see any potential. I think he had his spurt there, and he showed what he was capable of, and then so I don't know where that went. That's long gone, I think.
Man, this Kansas City football team sitting at 5-0, leading the AFC. If the Steelers don't win this game, is there any chance at all? And I understand mathematically there probably still is, but would you consider there to actually be a chance for the Steelers to get the number 1 seed and home field throughout the playoffs?
Well, I mean, if winning the division doesn't guarantee home field, does it?
No, you have to have the best record in the conference.
Then that might be a tricky one there. I think they can still wrangle up the division. That shouldn't be a problem, but I don't know. I think if they don't win this week, that's not going to do much for their momentum for the rest of the season, and I would say no. I mean, that's pretty early to say that if they lose this game, they're not going to get home field, but it's going to be a lot tougher.
Yeah, I mean, mathematically, you just have to play how many games better than the Chiefs at that point. They're going to be 6-0, you're going to be 3-3. You know what I mean? Realistically, it doesn't seem like the Chiefs are probably going to lose more than, let's say, 5 games, and that's if they really don't have a good, 2/3 of the season here on the rest of the way. So the Patriots are in the same boat. I mean, they've lost 2 games too, so it's not like the Steelers are in this boat. Kansas City, if they lock this game up, they could really, really, really give themselves a good look at home field throughout. And I don't care what team you are, if you're going into Arrowhead and the Kansas City Chiefs are playing well, it's going to be tough to win.
Yeah, I think time to home field advantage, kiss it goodbye, Steelers. But
yeah,
I think they'll be happy to get out of Pittsburgh, honestly, this week. I think they'll be relieved to just get away from all the talking heads, all the yinzers. These guys can't even go to the grocery store right now without hearing 5 picks, They can't turn on the radio, so I think they'll be actually happy to get out of town.
I think the offense for the Steelers is going to come out and have a pretty good game. They're not going to come out and stink like they did last week. A lot of that was not scoring in the red zone, getting themselves into 3rd and longs. They are completing an okay rate on 3rd down. Not as good as it should be, though. But like you said, Parlay, I think it's actually going to be good for them to get out of town.
Yeah.
Get in the hotel, kind of seclude yourself, only be with your team. I think Ben, I'm not going to say he's going to come out and throw for 300, 400 yards or anything, but I think Ben comes back and has a very, very good game. I wouldn't be surprised if he came out and threw 3 touchdowns this week. Not saying anything bad about the Kansas City defense, but Roethlisberger's better than the way he's played, especially early on. He's going to want to prove something. He's a very prideful guy. I don't see him going out easy.
Yeah, I wish I had time to research what he does after these huge blow-up games he's had in his career, because he has had other blow-up games, and I'd like to know what he did the next game. He's a pretty resilient dude, literally and figuratively, so yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he shows up. He definitely put last week on himself, and he knows he has to step up, so it's just a matter of everyone around him helping him out, and no mistakes this week.
Are the Steelers still a legitimate Super Bowl contender? Last week, before the week, they moved to the number 1 favorite as far as Vegas odds to win the Super Bowl. I don't know what it is this week, but I know they're not the favorite.
And what did Parlay say last week? He said, wait for that to go down. That's
it. Only took 1 game.
You may be well-suited to wait 1 more week, so it goes down even more, but I don't know. I mean, I don't know. It's really hard to say. As much as I want to say that they're not even a favorite, but a legitimate contender, it's tough to say right now. I think this will be a huge litmus test, as they say this week. Even if they play good and lose, I think that's assuring, as crazy as that is. So, you just have to, if they get blown out this week, oh man, Haley might be out of here.
All right, Parlay. I'm going to give you some over-unders. You're going to give us the conclusions.
I think I did okay last week. I think maybe 2 out of 3 or so.
All right, Steelers passing yards, over-under 240.
I'm going to go over on that.
Think they're going to be over. What about over-under 300?
Slightly over.
Going to be a good day passing for the Steelers. All right, well, if they're going to throw the ball a lot, over-under 85 rushing yards for Le'Veon Bell.
I'm going to go under on that.
What about total yards, over-under 100, running and receiving, for Bell?
I'll give him 106, sure.
He had 10 catches last week, although it was minimal yardage. Ben was checking down to him a lot. But we've seen Le'Veon come out and have games where he runs for 70, 80 yards, but then catches the ball for somewhere around the same. So let's hope that he can do that this week against Kansas City.
As long as you're counting that yak, I think he'll get over 106.
Over under 2 picks for Big Ben.
I'm calling a push on that.
You think he's going to throw 2? All right, what about the Chiefs? Over under 250 yards passing for the Chiefs.
Under.
That's right. Steelers got that number 1 pass defense.
Oh, yeah.
What about rushing? Over under 90 yards rushing for the team.
That's got to be over.
What about Kareem Hunt? You think he's going to have a 100-yard game?
No.
Steelers hold Hunt under 100, but they run for 100 as a team.
And he catches a bunch of shovel passes for about 8 plus.
All right, Parlay. It's time for our keys to victory. What do you think? What do the Steelers need to do to be able to win this football game?
Oh, boy. How much time you got?
Yeah, we only got a few days before game time, buddy.
Well, I think number 1, you got to be on the lookout for Kareem Hunt as a receiver. I think that's going to be pretty important. I think that, obviously, Andy Reid knows that the Steelers are focusing on stopping the run this week, so I think he's going to resort to his tight end if he's available, and I think short passes to Kareem Hunt. I mean, Alex Smith has never been a big one to throw to his receivers to start off with, so if they stick to their bread and butter, I think they'll cruise if they can do that. But if the Steelers are ready for it and prepped, then it might be a little tighter.
I'm glad you mentioned that. I forgot to say earlier in the episode, Kelsey is in concussion protocol, so there is a chance he may not play.
That's right. He's all whacked out.
He needs some Scooby snacks.
Something.
Steelers, for me, I mean, man, as cliche as it is, they need to get back to Steeler football. Whatever happened to throwing a little bit early, not a lot, but that first drive of the game, the Steelers would come out, move that no-huddle offense, move down the field, get some points, and then come out and just run the ball down the other team's throat, throw on 3rd and short, throw on play action passes. That's when Ben's at his best. What happened to play action? What happened to play action? Run the ball well so the teams bite on play action. That's how you connect on deep passes. People are saying Ben's off on his deep passes. Ben's off because he has people right in his face. He can't step into the throws. His lower body's getting old and beat up. He needs to be set to be able to throw. If you're running play action, you're keeping the heat off of Ben. You're getting them safeties to come in. Bryant can get behind him. Juju can get behind him. Brown can get behind him. Old school Steeler football. Get to the basics. Play good defense. You got to be better against the run. And I mean better than even against the Ravens, because they let a couple big yards go, 20, 30-yard runs. I think they might even have had a 50-yard run. Play good defense. Run the ball well. don't turn the ball over, obviously. These are all so cliche, but this is literally how you win football games on the road. They can't come out and try to sling it around with the Chiefs at home. Alex Smith is playing way too well right now. I don't want to get into a shootout with the Chiefs. They've been putting up points. They beat the New England Patriots in Foxborough already this year. They're a team to be reckoned with right now, and the Steelers better recognize.
They best recognize.
What's your official parlay prediction for the game?
Well, last week I went low, and I thought I predicted a 9, but not from the Steelers. I thought it would be the other way around. I'm going to go with the Chiefs, unfortunately, 24-20. I think the Steelers are going to play good, and I think it's going to be a clean game. I just don't think they're going to have enough to beat the Chiefs at home. I think Andy Reid's a good coach, and I think he's going to be very, very prepared. So I see it 24-20, and I think I'm going to say the Steelers will be driving with the last drive of the game, but I think they'll probably hit a 4th down and hit an incompletion, and that'll be that. Couple kneel downs, peace out.
Man, I don't know if it's the Steeler fan in me or not, but I feel like they're going to come back and have a better game, a more complete football game. I don't think they're going to come out and light up the scoreboard. I think both teams will kind of be a little conservative, at least early on in their approach, unless Kansas City's running the ball all over us, in which they'll just continue to do that. I think the Steelers can come out and play a good game here. They show up against teams they should. They got to be mad after last week, right? I mean, they played a really bad game against the Bears, and then they came back and played really well against Baltimore. So I think they can do it again. It's still going to be close, though. I'm going to call it for Pittsburgh, and I think they win 21-18 on a late field goal, and I think the defense for the Steelers actually comes up with a stop against Kansas City on the last drive for the game.
Ooh, so we're both hoping for a good game at least.
Yeah, please believe I'm tired of these blowouts. I like good football games. I don't pay $70 a month for a Sunday ticket for nothing.
Yeah, we got that 4 o'clock start too, so, get some chores done during the day, and then you sit down and enjoy a good game, hopefully.
Get your shine box.
Go get it.
Fans, any questions or comments, hit us up on Twitter at bet_the_spread. Hit me up on Twitter at betjimthewin. Check out Parlay on Twitter. If you want to know his Twitter handle, you got to find it yourself. It's a mystery. Whoever can find it wins. We don't know what you win, but you win something. Keep coming back to our Facebook.
T-shirt.
There you go. Keep coming back to Facebook at facebook.com/betthespread. Keep coming back to YouTube. Click subscribe. We gained a few subscribers last week. Parlay. Everybody's pumped up that you're back.
Parlaying the guests, parlaying the listeners.
Feeling it.